Hello, I'm Sheila Rai. I'm Associate Professor in National Law University, Odisha. I'll be discussing postmodernism with you. Now, what is postmodernism? Postmodernism, best understood, is a deconstruction of the idea of modernism. Whatever values or ideologies modernism had put forward as absolute or universal truth, postmodernism debunks them. Modernism itself was a reaction against medievalism. Medievalism basically required persons to take everything on faith and belief. The religious and social institutions, the political ideologies, these were all supposed to be based on revealed knowledge given to religious seers. Medieval era, you know that it was dominated by religious views and religious institutions. So medievalism was basically medievalism basically thought that man's capacity to know the universal truth and to shape the social and political institutions is limited. There are universal truths which are revealed by God to certain religious peers, and whatever is revealed in religious texts and to religious peers, normal man should accept it on the basis of faith and belief. He should have belief in his peers. Now modernism, which was born out of 17th century enlightenment, basically debunked this idea. Modernism celebrated humanism. That is, a man is a rational creature capable of scientific temper and capable of knowing universal truth by application of scientific deductions, rationality and objectivity. Man can break free of his circumstances, and on the basis of his rationality he would deduce certain universal truths, and those truths would help man to frame the new institutions which can be religious, social, political or economic. So basically modernism celebrated man's as an autonomous being, a man who can be free from his social and political economic surroundings, think independently of them, and after thinking independently of them, whatever rational truths he is able to deduct, on the basis of these rational truths, he would reshape the social and political institutions rather than being dependent on them. So what we find is that both modernism and medievalism, they believed in certain universal immutable truths. The difference was the way we know these truths. For medieval authors, a human being is incapable of knowing universal and immutable truths. He has to take them on faith. For modern writers, human being has the rational scientific temper, and by applying that rational scientific temper, he can deduce objective knowledge, and the basis of that objective knowledge, he can design the social and political institutions. So in this way, it would lead to endless social growth and political development. Now, postmodernism basically debunks this idea of man as an independent, autonomous being, independent of his surroundings, a person who can think independently from all the religious, social or political influences that have worked on them. Postmodern thinkers feel that it is not possible for a man, for a human being to have a perspective, to have an objective knowledge. Whatever we put forward or whatever modernism put forward as objective knowledge, whether it was liberalism or it was Marxism, they were actually different perspectives given by persons who were placed in different historical, social or economic settings. So we are influenced by our social, economic, political, religious surroundings. We are conditioned by the historical era in which we belong, and whatever we put forward as whatever we know or put forward as objective knowledge, that is just a perspective influenced by various factors, various external factors, either man knowingly or unknowingly, by which man is influenced. So postmodernism basically felt that whatever is put forward, whether it was liberalism or Marxism, whatever was put forward as immutable truth was just a perception of the dominant section of the society, who maintained their hegemony in the society by portraying their ideas or perceptions as universal and immutable truths. The difference between modernism and postmodernism can best be illustrated by views of Kant and Foucault. Kant is a leading philosopher of modernism and Foucault is a leading philosopher of postmodernism. Kant wrote a piece, What is Enlightenment? And years later Foucault commented on the piece by writing another piece by the same title, What is Enlightenment? Now, the different perspective which Kant and Foucault put forward for enlightenment is that according to Kant, enlightenment is the man's freedom to think and act independently, not to be guided by any external power. So, a man who can think rationally, independently and act with freedom and independence, that man celebrates enlightenment, or that is an enlightened person. But for Foucault, man is not, enlightenment is not a knowledge or perception as an external being. For Foucault, enlightenment is a continuous critique of our existence as part or belonging to a particular historical era. We critique our institutions and we think not as an external being but as part of a particular system, and we accept that our perception is influenced by a particular historical context in which we belong. So, we critique it not as an external being but as part of that being. So, that acceptance that we are not, for Kant, enlightenment is breaking free of external influences, breaking your mind free of any external social, political, religious, whatever influences that might condition them. For Foucault, enlightenment is acceptance of the idea that we continuously critique our social existence as belonging to in a particular historical context, not as independent of them. So, we critique our existence as an insider, we critique an institution as an insider, not as an outsider. Now, since postmodern writers do not believe in any universal immutable truths, therefore, it would not be right to say that these are the basic principles of postmodern writers, or these are the basic principles of postmodernism. What we have are that certain perspectives of postmodern writers on which most of the postmodern writers have emphasized. One is anti-foundationalist and anti-essentialist. Postmodernism believes that there is no one meaning to any text or a concept. Meaning of any text or a concept is fluid. It keeps changing depending on the various contexts in which it is used. Derrida illustrates it very well by coining a word difference, that is difference with an A rather than an E. This word difference he has coined by combining two words, differ and defer. Now, he says that we can understand a text or a concept in two-step process. One is by distinguishing a text or a concept from another text or a concept, and second is by aligning that text and or a concept with another text and a concept. So, at one stage we differentiate a concept from another concept, at another stage we align that concept or a text with another text. So, the meaning of any text or a concept is deferred unless and until it is aligned with another text or a concept. To give you an example, let us take the word walk. Now, what is the meaning of the word walk? We understand the concept or the meaning of walk by distinguishing it from other words like stand, sit, still. So walking is, or walk is something which is not standing or sitting or which is not still. Now this is one step test that we differentiate the word walk from other words, that is stand, still or sit. The second step is that the word walk can be properly understood only when it is conjoined with other terms and concepts like walking home, morning walk, walking out of an examination hall. Now in all these three contexts, the word walk has a different meaning. Walking home is just going to a destination, maybe after work or after college. Morning walk has a meaning of exercise. Walking out of the examination hall has a connotation of protest. So the meaning of word walk is not clear until and unless it is contextualized with other words and concepts, and its meaning keeps on changing when we use it conjointly with different concepts. So there is no one static meaning to any word or concept or any text. The meaning is always fluid. It will keep on changing depending on the various concepts in which it is used. The other perspective, important perspective of postmodern writers is deference to the concept of other. Now for postmodern writers, there is no immutable universal one truth that is just a dominant perspective of a particular section of the society who is holding a sway on us political or social institutions. Different people can have different perspectives on the same issue. So for postmodern writers, there are different perspectives and different viewpoints. Each viewpoint is as true as another viewpoint. There is nothing like right or wrong, reasonable or unreasonable, correct or incorrect. What is there is one perspective. Whatever is in the dominant perspective, we call it reasonable. Whatever is given as an alternative perspective, we call it unreasonable or right. But these are just two perspectives, each equally true. So postmodernism that way welcomes pluralism or plurality in thinking and plurality in social institutions. The third important perspective of postmodernism is death of the subject, which is basically a term which was coined by Foucault. What Foucault says is that we do not have one identity, we are a combination of multiple identities. In different contexts, we have different identities. Our identity actually will depend on who the other is. I am an Indian woman belonging to an upper caste. Now my identity would be different in different contexts. If I am confronted with a person of a different nation, say a British national, then my basic identity is that I am an Indian citizen. If I am confronted with a man, then my basic identity is that I am a woman. If I am confronted with a person of a different caste group, then I belong to a particular caste group. So that way, there is no fixed identity of a particular person, and there is no one person who is oppressor or oppressed. In different roles, we can be equally oppressor and equally oppressed. Like an upper caste woman, she is an oppressed if you consider her position vis-a-vis man, but she is an oppressor if you consider her position vis-a-vis lower caste man. So that way the identity, there is no fixed rigid identity in which you can put one human being. We have multiple identities, and depending on different roles that we perform, we can be oppressor in one role and oppressed in another role. Now the other important perspective of postmodern writers is centrality of the concept of power, on which both Nietzsche and Foucault emphasized a lot. But for Foucault, basically what he says that power is not located in one body or in one person. It basically circulates, and we have to understand this concept in conjunction with the previous point that we mentioned, that we have multiple identities. So what he says is that power is not located in a person and it is not exercised by a person. It is actually exercised on a person. But power is located in the particular organizational, social, political network which that organization proclaims. Whatever the dominant ideology is, The person in that position where he can oppress another, he wields the power not as a person with having a particular identity, but just because of the fact of being located at a particular point in an organizational net. Like for the example that I gave earlier, a woman of an upper caste is both an oppressor and oppressed depending on the different roles in which she belongs. So, or power is neither located in a man nor in an upper caste. Power is located in the particular social, economic, organizational net, and depending on which role in that organizational net we are performing, we are basically exercising the power as representative or as part of that organizational net on another individual. Now, what is postmodern jurisprudence? Now, postmodern jurisprudence is influenced generally by the postmodern perspectives which I discussed earlier. That is why I discussed the general perspectives of postmodernism first before coming to postmodern jurisprudence, because postmodern jurisprudence would be better understood if we have general idea of what postmodernism is. Now, postmodern jurisprudence basically deconstructs all the meta narratives, whether it is legal liberalism or it is Marxism. The idea of Hegel that the ultimate end of humanity is realization of world spirit, or the idea of Marx that communism is the final goal of history, both the or any other such meta narratives are debunked by postmodern jurists. What they largely base their criticism on legal liberalism, and taking example of Hart, Dworkin, Rawls, what they say is that what these writers try to make us believe that there is some sort of consensus in society on which the existing legal structure or legal system is based. They say that it is not, it is just that the dominant section of the society or the dominant perspective molded a particular legal regime, and that legal regime was made acceptable to others by putting forward as a rational, good or just legal order. What like Schlag, what he's a postmodern jurist, what he says is that when the existing liberal legal order is portrayed as just, rational, reasonable, and whatever is alternative is portrayed as unreasonable, it would lead to chaos, it would lead to arbitrariness or totalitarianism. So a fear is inculcated in us by saying that the existing order of the thing is the only possible just and reasonable order of things, and any alternative would be wrong or would lead us to chaos. What he says is like the concept of secondary rule of recognition of Hart, that is nothing except the American legal system, that is American Constitution. In American legal system, American Constitution is the secondary rule of recognition. So Hart has taken up that concept and has portrayed it as a part on which legal systems in general are based, or legal systems which have social acceptance are based. Same way original position of Rawls, what he says is nothing but a historical fact, that is the fact of establishing United States Constitution at a time when founding fathers thought that these are the certain principles on which a just American society can be based on. So what both writers, Hart and Rawls or Dworkin for that matter, say or make us believe that this is a system which has a universal, this is not a system located in a particular locality, in a particular historical era. They make us believe that these are universal truths, and any just or good legal system has to be based according to these principles. Then the other perspective of postmodern jurists is that centrality of the concept of power. Now, Derrida in his Force of Law, he basically criticizes Hart's or disagrees with Hart's concept that a legal system is based on general social acceptance. According to Derrida, the word enforceability or application of force is very essential to the very concept of law. He is nearer to Austin. He says that we cannot have law without the idea of enforcement, and the idea of enforcement means that it is forced upon and it has violent, it's a violent concept. By forcing upon a legal system, we try to suppress any dissenting or alternative voices. Now what Derrida says that what a legal system tries to do is it tries to distinguish between legitimate use of power and illegitimate use of power. Whatever power is used by authorities under a legal system and sanctioned according to a particular legal system, we say that it is a legitimate use of power, and a power or violence that is used by individuals, that is considered as illegitimate use of power and it is punished. What Derrida points out, taking from Benjamin in his critique of violence, what he says is that when a law is made or when a legal system is established as a result of revolution, that is made or established only by suppressing alternative voices. When a revolution is successful, it establishes a system according to its ideologies. Not that system is established not because it is good or rational, that system is established just because it is successful. Same way, when the law making process takes place, the alternative or dissenting voices are suppressed. Whatever is the dominant perspective is accepted and law is made according to the dominant perspective. So in the very idea of establishing a law and a legal system, there is a violence, and this violence, this initial violence is not sanctioned by any law, so that this is not legitimate. At best it is extra legal. So in the initial process of establishing a legal system and making a law, there is no legitimacy of the use of power, and there is always violence and use of power when a legal system and law is made. Then he says that whenever we enforce that system, either by a process of interpretation or by enforcement of a law, in that system what we do is that we suppress the alternative voices by putting forward the existing system as just and reasonable system. We remake that system in every process of interpretation and enforcement. The legal system is basically, or the legal system or any juridical order is basically afraid of individual violence because it thinks that the individual violence will destabilize the legal system. That is why it condemns any individual violence, and when it reinforces itself by condemning the legal violence, it is again committing a violence. So that way, concept of power and violence is central to any concept of legal system under the postmodern jurisprudence. Then postmodern jurists deconstruct the idea of justice and idea of justice according to law. What Derrida again in his Force of Law says is that the whole statement justice according to law is a misconception, because law, as we have seen, it originates in violence. Enforceability, violence is inherent in its original form, and violence is there in every enforceability of that law. Justice as a concept is not compatible with the idea of violence. So there cannot be any justice according to law. Then he says that law has to be general in nature. There cannot be different laws for different people. But the demand of justice requires that every fact and circumstances of every person is different. So what application of law which is general cannot be made particular by applying it in different circumstances to different persons, because different persons may have different circumstances, and justice in a particular circumstances may require disobedience to law. So the whole idea of justice according to law is a misconception, although he does not say that justice itself is a wrong idea, but he says that law does not necessarily help in getting us justice. Then again, taking what we have discussed earlier, that death of subject is again an important part of postmodern jurisprudence. Postmodern jurisprudence criticizes the liberal legal regime's idea of putting people in strict categories. In fact, whether it is liberal legal regime or a Marxist regime, we put persons in strict, in each of these legal regimes, we put persons in strict categories: capitalist, proletariat, citizen, a non-citizen, man, woman, right? That we put persons in strict legal categories. Now, since a person is a combination of multiple identities, therefore we cannot put persons in strict legal categories. And what happens is, when we put persons in strict legal categories, it tends to marginalize those who, it tends to obscure the voice of those who are at the margins of a system. Like a capitalist voice is not heard in a Marxist legal system. A proletariat's or a leftist's voice is not heard in a capitalist legal system. Same way, in a normal liberal democratic regime, there are others or outsiders, like there can be tribals or there can be normal poor persons who may not be taken into account by the dominant section of the society. So when we put persons in a strict legal categories, we marginalize the alternative voices. Like if we put persons in as categorized as man and woman, now problems of a rural woman, urban woman, tribal woman, they are different and they have a different notion. The perspective of each of them will be different. Now, when we categorize persons as man and women problem as only as those belonging to problems of an urban woman, we do not take into account problems which are faced by a rural woman or a tribal woman. So, the perspective of urban woman becomes dominant perspective, and the whole legal system is designed according to a perspective of an urban woman. So, that way what postmodern jurists say, that it is a mistake to put persons in strict legal categories, and that there has to be, since people have multiple identities, we have to welcome the alternative arguments or perspectives of those who are at the margins of the society or of any system. So these are some important perspectives of postmodern writers in general and postmodern jurists in particular. If we want to conclude what postmodernism is all about, postmodernism is basically debunking of the idea that there are universal immutable truths. What they say, that there are different perspectives, and it helps us, or it encourages us to be more liberal in a way by accepting alternative perspectives, not rejecting them as subversive or unreasonable, but by accepting, by starting with the notion that this is an alternative perspective, this can also be possible, this can also be a viewpoint. So that way, if we continue to critique our social and political institutions in this way, that would be a better order of society, rather than thinking or trying to reach any utopia like what liberal legal order or Marxist legal order tries to reach. Not trying to reach an end. Postmodern jurists do not visualize any end which a particular social or legal order has to reach. For them, it is a process of continuous deconstruction. We continuously deconstruct our existing order of things and continuously question it, so that various viewpoints can be accommodated, and it can be checked that one dominant perspective does not hold sway to any social or political or legal institution for a long time. Thank you.